From analog.
Hi, Jim. You have a great signal up here. You're 5.9 plus.
To digital.
We are everywhere you want to be. This is the CQ Blind Hams Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Blind Hams Techzoom for April 2024. This is a meeting where we get together and talk about all kinds of fun things, of course, from a blindness perspective. It is kind of think of it as a net that doesn't take place on the air, but rather in a Zoom room. So it's a little more like a club meeting as opposed to a net. But nevertheless, it's still the same mechanics. We're here to talk about things in amateur radio from a blindness perspective. Without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce the hosts and crew. Joel, W0CAS, what's going on over there?
Not a lot, Junius. We're waiting for this storm to blow through. So if I end up dropping out, don't worry. I'll be listening to the podcast tomorrow when we get ready to upload it. But just want to let everybody know that I may or may not be here long because we got some serious winds blowing, and Starlink and cloud cover and all that don't seem to work very well. But interesting to hear what everybody has to say. Back to you, Joe.
All right, thanks for that. And let's hope the storms don't take Joel out of our meeting here. Robert is out and about, out of town, so we will not be hearing from him today. Steve, WB2KTV, tell us what's new with you.
Good evening, everybody. Reporting from West Village Rehab and Nursing Center this month. They treat me well, and I missed my D75, which is at home, languishing on the counter, waiting for its daddy to return and use it. Just before I came here, which was a week ago yesterday, I've been here since the 3rd, I did get it working real well on analog. I like the radio very much, and I was just getting into it using Blue DV on the computer, and then my toe accident happened, and I had to put it down. Looking forward to getting home and getting back to it.
Oh, man, no fun. But hey, hopefully you'll pick up a few tips and tricks and be able to enhance your D75 experience once you get back home, and hopefully that will be very soon. Steve, W0QA, what's going on with you, and what's new with the Blind Ham News podcast?
Well, episode number 2 of the Blind Ham News podcast will be out moments from this very instant. If it already isn't, I don't know. But we're going to be talking to Gina, N3NRO, who is the sister of Ronaldo, KN3Q, who became a silent key here a couple months ago. We'll learn about their family's involvement in ham radio. Their father was a ham also, and some interesting connections with the call sign that Gina has now. But you'll have to listen to the podcast to get that story. So we'll be talking to her. And then Joel, W0CAS, will be joining me to talk about the new Chris Miller NE5V Elmer of the Year Award. So that is all in episode number 2 of the Blind Ham News podcast. And it's available on this CQ Blind Hams feed. And hopefully you'll get a chance to listen to it.
Awesome. Yeah, this sounds really neat. I'm going to have to go and download and listen to that soon. And I guess last but not least, it's me, Julian, located in the Los Angeles area, Southern California, N1CA is the call. Nothing really new and exciting going on here. I'm still very much enjoying my D75 and other fun things that I've been learning about it. So I'm looking forward to picking up some more tips and tricks here as well. So now that we've done that, I just want to remind everybody here, and especially those of you listening at home, that the blindhams.com is our website, www.blindhams.com. It's a great resource for lots of helpful information, things that'll be very helpful. And one of the things you can learn about when you're there is our collection or our podcast contributions that are available through many sources, but I particularly want to point you to the CQ Blind Hams YouTube channel. That one is very important because the truth is our content could be helpful to many people. It's not just blind people. Obviously, it's done by blind people, so it's going to be the most helpful to us because it's done from a different perspective, especially compared to your normal YouTube videos. But still, some of the subject matter is helpful. actually recommended Blind Ham podcasts to sighted people that have found them to be very helpful because of the way that we cover things. So if you're not yet subscribed to this CQ Blind Ham's YouTube channel, I'm going to ask that you please just take a moment and subscribe to us, and also listen to our content. The important thing about that is that the more subscriptions and views that we get, the more that we are able to monetize this. And what's done with the proceeds is that it is used to buy accessible radios and put them in the hands of blind hams. There we go. Especially those who are new to our hobby, or at least new to our group. Sometimes this could be the difference between just getting somebody on the air or not having them on the air. So this is what we love to do, is put radios in the hands of blind hams. And the money that we get from monetizing this YouTube channel, every cent of it goes precisely to that. So, Joel, hopefully you're still with us here. I'm going to go over some stats here that I've seen just to bring everybody up to date. Apparently, we've had 19 new subscribers to the CQ Blind Hams YouTube channel. We've had 1,429 total views and 11.3 thousand minutes watched. So this is all very, very helpful. And again, helping us to get more and more radios in the hands of blind hams. So Joel, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, along with those numbers, we got to get to 3,000 watch hours in 365-day period. And last time I looked at that number, it was about 1,700, 1,800. We got to get up to 3,000 before Google will release any monitor. And I went over to look at some podcasting stats yesterday, and we were doing very well on the podcast. We got like 164 subscribers on the podcast, and we have 29,700 downloads since we started the podcast. That's quite a good number on the podcast subscription. But yeah, like you said, right now YouTube is the only way we're ever going to be able to monetize, and that number's got to get up to 3,000 watched hours before we can get Google qualified. And that's all I have. Back to you, Chris. Sorry, back to you, Judy. Chris is in there waiting in the wings to come in.
Yeah,
and talk about the 75.
So yeah, this is great. So to everybody who's listening, who has already done this, who's subscribed and who is downloading and watching our stuff, thank you very much. And those who haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Please help us out. And also feel free to share the info about our channel on your social media channels. You know, let's get the word out there, and let's get this monetization going. So one thing I heard about on the radio, and I don't know too much about this product. I think it's called JJ Flex Radio. The guy that's involved with that, KE5AL, recently spoke to me, and he said he's looking for someone to take that over. Joel, is that something you're familiar with that maybe you could add a little something to?
Yeah, Jim, his health is dwindling. He has had to move into a assisted living facility, so he's not able to update the programming of JJ Flex Radio. So he's looking for someone that it does programming. I think he told today on the radio what the two different languages that C+ and Visual Studio. I think if you program in any one of those languages, JJ would love to have some help, maybe taking over Flex Radio, JJ for Flex Radio. And JJ Radio also works with Kenwood's and a couple of other radios.
So is this a program that makes those radios more accessible, or?
Yeah, it's a software.
Oh, awesome. Well, hopefully somebody listening here will be able to contact him. I assume his call must be in QRZ, and hopefully he's got some contact info there. And if not, I'm sure whoever listening could reach out to us here at Blind Hams through our contact info, and one of us will be able to get you in touch and hopefully keep this wonderful piece of software going. So now we're going to get to the purpose of our meeting. It's the Kenwood THD75 roundtable discussion. Recently, unless you've been living under a rock, you must know by now that Kenwood has come out with this wonderful HT. It's like the THD74, except fully accessible. All the menus, all the levels of the menus are spoken via speech prompts, and it's just a wonderful experience. It's an analog and D-Star radio with extended receive, especially in the low bands. You can listen in all these different modes, obviously AM, FM, but you can also do lower sideband, upper sideband, CW, and of course D-Star. So it's an awesome little HC. I got mine pretty much as soon as they became available. And the thing I most enjoyed about it right off the bat was the experience that for the very first time in my life, I was able to buy an HT off the shelf and not have to download some alternate firmware. And I'm not knocking that solution. It's been wonderful having GT77s and UV380s and all these great radios that are accessible now because of it. But there's something about buying the thing off the shelf and not having to do anything different to it than a sighted person would have to do, and being able to just set it up yourself independently. So just by pressing the pound key while simultaneously pressing and holding the power button for a few seconds, you get speech. And I didn't have to crack open any manuals or anything like that. And by the way, I don't own a THD74, so I had zero familiarity with this radio. But just kind of playing around with it to figuring out the buttons, and of course listening to people talk about the 74 over the years, and now with the D75, pick up enough to learn the layout, and within a matter of minutes, get my my hotspots in there programmed, then come out on All-Star, and then program in local repeaters. And it didn't take long before I even got it set up with D-Star. Since I have an open spot 3, I was able to get that all set up. And I have to say that D-Star was probably, if you had asked me to list in order of priority the features, D-Star would have probably been at the very bottom. But I actually find myself using it a little more than I thought I would, just because, again, it's just kind of fun and easy to set up. And Chris BE3RWJ years ago wrote this really helpful set of instructions on all the powerful things you can do with a D74 and an open spot 3. And a lot of that works with the 75 and the open spot 3. So between all that, I was able to get up and running on D-Star. And now I check into a net here locally and have made some contacts. So it's pretty cool. It's a nice radio. It's been a great experience. And again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Kudos to Kenwood for doing this, for making this radio accessible to blind people without making us have to buy anything additional or install anything additional. It just comes out of the box. It works. And why the other manufacturers, I'm looking at you, ICOM and Yaesu, haven't done something like this, I don't know. But please learn from Kenwood, and hopefully we'll get some accessible radios from other manufacturers other than Kenwood. So what I'll do is I'll go around. I'm going to see if Chris V3RWJ is here with us, because I know he's been playing a lot with this radio. Yep. He's very active in the Facebook group. And I think out of all of us, you probably know quite a few things that we're all going to learn from. So tell us a little bit about your experiences.
I'm going to say the THD75 is a much improved THD74. If you're familiar at all with the 74, most of the menu numbers are the same. I think they tried to keep as many the same as possible, except now they all talk. Where maybe 2/3 of things talked on the 74, now it's almost everything. It's like 99% with the 75. Other improvements, the case feels more sturdy. The speaker is a little more powerful and has a fuller sound compared to the 74 that has kind of maybe a thinner sound. The 75 definitely sounds better. People say the screen or the display on it is more scratch resistant. So they've made a lot of little improvements throughout the whole thing. They re-engineered the power management. So you might have heard people with the THD74 say that don't transmit while it's plugged into the charger because you can brick your radio. That will not happen with the 75 now. Now you just have to worry about not having enough power to transmit if you have it on plugged into a power source, plugged into a charger. So it's just improved all the way around. And my other handhelds have just been sitting here lonely, neglected, collecting dust. And I've also been using D-Star a fair bit. I want to mention Robert NC5R, who's not here tonight, did a great podcast that came out a week before we're making this recording, all about setting up D-Star and using your open spot with the THD75. He covers, I think, 4 ways to access reflectors, D-Star reflectors. So people interested in really getting into D-Star, I would recommend you check out his episode. I'm not a D-Star expert by any means, so I would say please check out his podcast. I did put together an accessible guide for the 75 that's available as an HTML file. It's in the blindhams groups.io files area and other places. Lots of people have copies of it now, and that's a great way to get started with the radio too. I took the inspiration for that from Joe Stevens' guide for the THD74, and I basically did the same thing with the 75. Just to show off some of the speech, let's see. Just to show off some of the increased accessibility, those of you with the THD74 will know that you can press the F or function button followed by one of the keypad keys to perform some kind of function in the radio, whether it's transferring something to memory or the VFO, or maybe it's going in or out of reverse if you have a repeater programmed in. So now when I press the F or function key, I'm arrowing through. So that's just arrowing up and down through all the options that are assigned to F plus one of the keypad, one of the number pad keys. And I don't think any of that talked before on the THD74. So you had to know that F plus 8 gave you your CTCSS tones, or F plus 1 shifted something to the VFO, that kind of thing. You had to know what number to go to, whereas now you can explore. Just like if I hit the menu key, just like if I hit the menu button, configuration. Now I can just digital move around with the arrow keys. 3 audio file 8 SD card. Let's say I go to 9 configuration 8 SD 8 SD X 8 1 SD input. So I can just explore the whole menu system now without having to remember. 8 2 without having to remember specific menu functions. You can still just type in you can still just punch in the menu option that you want to go to, or the menu number that you want to go to. That works just the way it did with the THD74. But now you can, if you don't know any of those menus, any of those menu numbers, you can just explore. 8.3 format. Let's try one of these. So 830 is format SD card. 8 execute. And I can hit A/B, and it will tell me in a minute that it's done. Just as one example of where they've added speech. Earlier today, there we go. So just one example of where they've added speech. I happened to pop the micro SD card out today, and it said the radio said something like unable to read micro SD card. So they've added speech all over the place. It's really the most accessible HT Kenwood's ever produced, and maybe has ever been produced by one of the big three manufacturers. Someone asked in the chat about the general coverage receive. The internal bar antenna, I think the manual recommends that you use it for 10 megahertz and under. It's a very small ferrite bar antenna. It will not pull in, for example, it will not pull in AM broadcast band stations as well as, a small AM radio, transistor radio that you have. So the general coverage receive is nice, but you want to hook it up to some kind of external antenna if you're going to pull in, HF. And you can listen to sideband, CW, all of that. You can adjust the filter widths for SSB, AM, CW. So it's quite nice, but it's not the most sensitive receiver out there. So you're going to want to use some kind of external antenna if you're going to listen to DHF bands on here. So, I mean, I look at it as a very nice thing to have in a handheld, but it wouldn't be my primary reason for buying a THD75. It's nice, but it's not amazing, and it's not going to be as good as a portable shortwave receiver that you'd buy that's made just for that. So I would say it's a nice extra. But if you plug in, if you select the antenna connector instead of the internal bar antenna and you connect it to some wire, maybe just 20 or 30 feet of speaker wire, something like that, you can listen to HF. Maybe get one of those little active loop antennas that shortwave listeners like to use. I don't really have much else to add. I'm curious to see what questions people have, and I've been using the radio for about a month, so hopefully I can answer questions. If not, we have Steve and I think a few other people here who have the radio too, so we can all try answering questions that come up. I'd like to address battery life, and that is I get about 8 hours of, let's say, monitoring and occasional transmitting. Now that's on analog FM. That's usually on my All-Star node during the day and some local repeaters. I get about 8 hours on a charge, or on a fully charged pack. So I have a second battery and I have the drop-in charger. Don't forget, you can now charge through USB-C. The radio has USB-C as well as a 12-volt input. So you might want to get yourself a power bank or some way to plug in 12 volts, just any 12-volt power supply. As long as it has 3 amps, at least you can transmit on 5 watts, and you won't run out of power at all. It will charge from USB-C, and after it's been charging about 10 minutes, you can transmit while it's plugged into USB-C without a problem as well. So no, the battery life is not amazing. But I would be interested to see how it compares to the flagship models from Yaesu and ICOM, both of which we cannot access. But just in terms of battery life, how does it stack up to the FT5D or the IC52? That would be interesting to see. Okay, price. What is it listing for, guys? Anyone know? Something like 9...
No, I think it's like $749 US.
Sorry, yeah, it's $749. Let's say in the States, Canadian funds for it's $9.99 basically up here in Canada. So yes, it is the most expensive handheld on the market for amateur right now. Hopefully that'll come down. The THD74 did drop in price eventually, so we can only hope that this will too. Yes, it's quite expensive. So that's an issue, but it's very good. I fully expect to get many years of use out of this thing, unless Kenwood comes out with something even better, and then I'll have to buy it. But I would also maybe suggest that it's not as expensive as many commercial HTs. If you look at Kenwood's commercial stuff or some of the Motorola's and so on, they're a lot more than 700 and something. Just to put it in perspective, so it's very expensive for the amateur market, but maybe not overall when you compare it to some of the portable commercial radios out there. I'm rambling. Julian, what do you want to do? Do you want to just keep going around and get some other impressions? I'd love to hear what Steve thinks of the radio, and anybody else on the call who has it.
Yeah, that was my thought, is to see among our panel here, and Steve was the guy I was going to go to next. I know that unfortunately because of what happened to him, he hasn't had as much time to have hands-on with it as he would like. But yeah, Steve, love to hear what you think of it so far, even with the limited time you've had with it.
Well, first thing I noticed about it was that the FM sensitivity seems better and the selectivity seems better. I live in a very intermod and interference heavy location, as you might think New York City would be. It is, and I've already taken it to some areas where I've had trouble with the D74, with desensing and other interference patterns, and the D75 has not given me those troubles. Another thing I've noticed about the receiver is it's quieter. On most FM broadcasts, even those that were full quieting and actually quite strong into the receiver, we hear some underlying hits that I didn't think should be there. I believe they've cleaned that up on the 75. It's a quieter operating receiver, which I like very much. The one thing I have to say that they did not fix, and Kenwood has been known for this, so I kind of expected that they wouldn't fix it, but I hope that they would, is they do not honor reverse burst PL at all. Or if they do, it doesn't work right. Because at the end of a signal, even if you have PL, in the CTCSS option, you can either have send, receive, or both. Even if you have both, the radio still gives you a squelch tail when it locks after the PL goes away. I was really hoping they would fix that, but nope, they didn't. That is not a showstopper. I thought I heard somebody say something.
Steve,
Sorry.
Actually, that's not quite true.
Yeah, I get a nice clean end of transmission from my Shari node. I don't have a squelch.
Now, is that because
burst.
your Shari node says reverse burst, or does it drop the PL?
I have reverse burst turned on my
I
Shari
do
node.
too, and my Shari node is dead quiet in that regard. But a lot of the other stuff around here just isn't. So I don't know what's up with that.
It depends what it is. I have several local repeaters that also work properly with CTCSS. I don't get a squelch burst at the end. The odd one I do.
Doesn't that depend a lot on how the repeaters have implemented that? Because I've got repeaters in this area that I get a squelch tail even with CTCSS, and then there are other ones that the signal goes away and I don't get. It's just nice and clean. So I think it's the way the repeaters themselves implement the that whole system.
Yeah,
I think that makes sense because I've had hit and miss with that, and I still think overall compared to other radios, including from the other big two manufacturers, I find Kenwood's PL decoding to be better. And yeah, it helps. Like, for example, I belong to the CalNet repeater system here in California, and those guys set it up to where the PL drops slightly before the repeater drops. And with a radio like the 74, it just works great. It's just nice and quiet, no squelch crashing or nothing. Where I find that other repeaters, it can be hit and miss. I haven't found a rhyme or reason to it, but I still think overall the PL decoding in this radio is better than some of the other stuff that's out there.
I have a couple Yaesus, an FT60 and an FT70, and both of those I get a squelch tail no matter what. Whether there's reverse burst or not, or so they don't do that nice clean end of transmission thing at all. I just want to mention one caveat that I forgot. For some reason, Kenwood put older Bluetooth technology in the THD75.
I was just about to talk about that.
It has Bluetooth 3.0, and your Apple devices like your iPhone, iPad, etc. have 4.0 and the Bluetooth low energy, or 4.0 or later, and the Bluetooth low energy or BLE profile. The radio does not have Bluetooth low energy, so it will not connect directly to your Apple devices. That's a major oversight on Kenwood's part. I'm not sure what they were thinking, why they stuck such an old Bluetooth stack in the 75. There is a board available called the BB Link. That's B period Link. I think it's Arduino based, and it's a ham who has written some firmware. He's the guy who also wrote the Radio Mail iOS app for doing WinLink, and he's written this firmware. And you can buy a board. You need to plug a battery into it, like a power bank or something. The board has USB on it for programming and for power. So you put the firmware on the board, and it acts as a go-between, an interface between your radio and your iPhone. So once you get one of these boards and put the firmware on it, you can apparently use things like the WinMail app to do WinLink and so on over the using the iPhone and Bluetooth. I've not done it yet. I haven't ordered the board, so I can't speak from experience. But it does bridge that gap. So there is a way. There is a way around it. So no, you can't natively connect the radio to your Apple devices. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
Oh, that's right. That's kind of the end of what I have to say. I was just beginning to get into D-Star with my OpenSpot 3 and over Blue DV when my toe accident happened. So that had to be put aside for the moment. Eager to get back to it when I get home.
And the 75 does have, speaking of hotspots, does have a hotspot menu now, or a hotspot list. You can have up to 30 hotspots in there. So where with the THD74, you added your hotspot to the repeater list, and then you had to find it in the repeater list. Now there's a separate place in the radio for hotspots.
And the nice thing about it is you set it up like a repeater, because it behaves like one.
Yep. You go into DR mode, and it just works. Again, though, Robert NC5R is certainly the expert on all that.
I've been playing around with that, Chris, and the the hotspot list is really a very nice addition because unlike the repeater list, I think you'd have a lot more trouble editing the repeater list if you wanted to. Where with the hotspot list, you can address each hotspot that you put up there and make changes if you need to. Some of the things are a little bit quirky. Frequency entry is a little weird in the hotspot list, but I think with subsequent firmware releases, they'll probably upgrade a lot of that stuff that isn't quite working as smoothly as we'd like it. It's nice that they've got it there, and it does work very well.
Another quirk, Steve, you probably have some favorites, some favorite pronunciations or mispronunciations.
Oh, of course.
I don't know how both Steves. I don't know how they generated the speech prompts for the radio, but the odd thing is pronounced strangely. The word mode, it will say moored. Charging sounds a bit like churching.
And megahertz.
Megahertz. So there are some, everything talks, but there are some odd pronunciations.
My favorite one is apostrophe.
Yeah. Apostrophe, it says in a funny way.
And then hertz, it says hertz or something like that.
Helps. It almost sounds like to me.
Yeah, it almost sounds like help. And that'll.
So there are some strange pronunciations in there. Right now, there's a bit of a bug where if you go into fine tuning mode for tuning the VFO, like on HF, for example, and you're changing the tuning step size, it will say 20 kilohertz instead of 20 hertz. It should say hertz for all of the fine tuning step sizes, like 100 hertz, 500 hertz. Yeah. It says kilohertz for all of those. That has been reported to Kenwood. Hopefully they'll do something about it. The other thing they know about and will hopefully fix is the battery gauge is strange in that it will show zero. It will say zero, battery zero or battery level zero for a long time before you actually run out of battery power completely. You can run it quite a bit while it still says zero. It goes through high, medium, low, and then 0. And it sits on 0 for quite a while. So the battery gauge has an accuracy problem. Right now, I would just suggest that people just use it until it dies, and then put a fresh pack on it or plug it in.
You're actually better off not draining it down all the way anyway, though, Chris. I mean, lithium-ion batteries don't like to be drained the way NiCads used to.
Yeah, yep. Kenwood do recommend, this is perhaps controversial, Ken would recommend that you fully discharge and recharge the pack a few times when you first get it, and they say you'll get more battery life, more capacity that way. I've never heard that advice from anyone else with rechargeables, with lithium-ion rechargeables.
I think that was true with NiCads, but I'm not so sure it's true anymore.
Yeah, why Ken would recommend that, I don't know.
Failure to update the documentation.
But that is what they say. So like 5 to 7 times when you first get the pack, just run it all the way down, charge it all the way up, and they say you'll get full capacity that way. I don't know if that does something to the battery, or if it maybe calibrates the battery gauge in the software. I really don't know. So I can only repeat it as that's what Ken would say, and your mileage may vary. It seems strange to me, but
yeah, I thought it was strange too. But I did it because I figured, 5 to 7 times, how much harm is that really could potentially do. So I figured, I didn't see too much of a downside to doing it. Just that few times. Yep. So
and all your accessories with the 74 work with the 75. So anything that plugs into the mic and headphone, mic, headphone, and remote connector, your drop-in charger, all that stuff. The battery pack for the 74 just fits directly. So all that stuff works with the 75. I'm talking too much. Someone else take it.
I just want to finish. But before we move on, I just want to say this other thing about the battery that might be helpful to some people. When I got mine, I bought an extra battery, but it wasn't a Kenwood battery. It was a third-party manufacturer. And I started to notice after a while that sometimes when I would charge this battery, and then, the other one would die, then I put the new one on the radio, that it would say battery low, which means that it didn't charge all the way. And I asked around about it, and the advice that I got, and I'll credit the source on this one, Paul, KC5ALH out of Big Spring. He says that he's seen this before, and the thing that you do, and so far it does seem to have helped, is that the battery that you're having the issue with, when you're ready to put it into the charger, put it in the drop-in charger for about 10 seconds, pull it out, and wait another 10 seconds. Then put it in again a second time for 10 seconds, then pull it out a second time and wait for 10 seconds, and then drop it back in. And then after that, I guess the next time you charge it, just do the thing, but only one time. Drop in for 10, take out for 10, and then put it back in. And so far, that does seem to have remedied the problem for me. So if anybody out there has the same setup and you're finding this issue, you might give that little method a try.
I ran into some of that with the batteries the first couple of times that I charged them. But lately, when I've been charging them, I've noticed that all of those batteries behave properly, and I don't have to do anything special. And it makes me wonder if maybe the issue is with the contacts on the back of the battery mating with those little spring-loaded rods or levers that there are in the charger. And I just wonder if maybe some of those sometimes get dirty or something like that, because I kind of made a point of moving things around in there, and ever since I've done that, I've not had a single battery fail to charge properly. So kind of makes me wonder if this is just a contact issue.
It could be, although I know it makes contact because I have enough vision that I could actually see the LED come on, and I've verified it with IRA as well, that the red light or the green light's on. So I know that it is doing that. As Paul put it, he says it's the charger is too smart or outsmarts itself or something to that effect. So, and again, I'm only having this with the third-party battery, not the Kenwood battery. The Kenwood battery has performed flawlessly. So
Can I
Not sure.
Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask where you got that pack from? Was that Batteries America or somewhere else?
I think it is. I bought the whole thing as a package deal from Paul. He carries this stuff sometimes, and so I got it all that way. But I believe that is who he gets batteries from.
Okay, because they do have the stock pack that comes with the THD75 is 1,820 milliamp hours. Batteries America and some other places do sell a 2,000 milliamp hour pack, so there is a tiny bit more capacity there. That might give you an extra half hour or something. I will say the battery feels a lot more securely attached to the radio, even though the mechanism is the same as the THD74. It doesn't seem to have any play in it the way it did sometimes with the 74. I feel more confident with the 75. The case feels more rigid, and it feels like the battery is held on there a little better.
I've had a little bit different results with that, Chris. I have one battery pack where there is a bit of play, and the one that came with the 75 is a more solid fit, and the one that came with the 75 is a little bit thinner than the batteries used to be. Now I had kind of a weird thing happen with mine, that the first battery I got with the 75 was absolutely dead, and it wouldn't charge, and I got HRO to send me a new one. And the one they sent me was, and I didn't pay attention with the first one to notice that it was thinner, but this one is definitely thinner. In fact, the back, the upper edge of the back of the battery is the same thickness, but then the battery kind of thins out as you get about a half an inch away from the top of the battery case.
Interesting. I'm feeling mine, and it does have that sort of curve to it near the top.
Yeah.
But where it's widest, it is a little fatter than, or it protrudes a little compared to the rest of the back of the radio, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But that battery is nice and solid, but my other one kind of flops around a little bit. So, and I think the other one is a third party. So, and some of those didn't even work right on the 74. I mean, they didn't quite fit. They almost didn't quite.
How? What's your experience and anyone else with the radio? What's your experience been with the port cover on the right-hand side of the radio, the rubber port covers? Has yours worked itself loose yet? Because that was always a problem I had with the 74. I had a bunch of replacements.
Yeah, I had that trouble with the 74, but I haven't had it yet with the 75, but I've also tried to be very careful.
So have I.
Because how is that thing held on anyway? Is it glued on, or is it just...
There's, I think, just like the 74, there's a protrusion. I'm just looking at it. There's a protrusion that sticks out like at a 90-degree angle from the covers. Another little, just a piece of rubber that sticks into the radio towards the back.
Yeah, toward the back, okay.
And sort of halfway down.
Okay, yeah.
So that juts out and sticks into a little slit in the radio, just like it did on the 74.
Yeah, because I never replaced the ones on the 74. I wanted to, but I never even knew where to get them. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to have to glue this into place, I don't think I want to even mess with that.
Yeah, it just sticks in there nice and nice and tight. Now, hopefully, with the 75, it's not going to come out. It's not going to work itself loose over time. The one with the 74, it used to start kind of bubbling up, and it wouldn't.
Yep, and once it bubbled up, you couldn't get it to go back down.
Yeah.
Because that's the way my 74 is now. It's
so I haven't had that yet. Had that happen yet.
Yeah, but then again, it's we haven't had the radios that long either.
Yeah, I think we're at about a month.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens with that.
Yep. Have any of you guys played around at all with the call sign list?
No,
Robert
I haven't.
Robert has. Does he? I think he covers that in his podcast, right?
Well, he does. And when I started playing with it, the one thing a couple things I noticed. The documentation is a little bit vague on how you edit in that. they don't quite tell you everything you need to know. They almost do. But the one thing I did find that I don't like is you cannot delete individual entries. You can clear the whole list, but you can't delete an individual entry, which is not nice. Now, the only saving grace about that is that if the list is sitting on your SD card, you can import it again, so you can blow it away and restore it. But if you've been making changes to that and you didn't realize that was going to happen, because
you can edit it in a text editor, I think, on the PC.
Yeah, you can. It's Notepad will do it just fine. Then you got to put it on the card and take the card out of the radio, I guess you don't have to. You can transfer it over to the PC. But hopefully they'll, more upgrades in the firmware to be able to remove one entry. I was surprised to find you can actually sort that thing. You can actually move stuff around in the call sign list, change the order without doing it in the text editor. So they built that functionality in, but you can't delete one if you messed it up. You got to blow away the whole list and start over.
Yeah, it's amazing sometimes what they put in and what they don't put in.
What they don't, yeah, I know.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if there anybody here that is thinking about getting one of these radios and might have a specific question for those of us that do have them.
This is Larry Watkinson, KC7CKO.
Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, hey, I actually have one, and I appreciate Chris up there, our friend to the north. I just wanted to share with you, someone asked about where can you get the rubber piece for the cover. Pacific Coast Parts is a really good supplier. On my D74s is where I have gotten those before. There's a stub that when you stick it through the hole in the radio, there's a stub that goes in and holds that in place on the radio. And so when you take the case apart a little bit, the little nubbins drop out once it's been torn off. And I was going to mention, I really appreciate what Chris said about the case. I believe that it holds in your hand much more ergonomically or more comfortable as a result of the changes to the case. And I just think that is really one of the good attributes. And the radio actually feels more solid, like a commercial Kenwood that I have had access to and have used and so on. So I think that they really have kind of adopted kind of the commercial case for the most part on that. And those that are looking for a screen reader or screen reader, there's screen protector. I know Don Arnold, W6 GPS, is playing with some different screen protectors, so you might want to watch his YouTube channel for screen protectors. I'm going to go ahead and mute.
Yeah, I picked up a 2-pack of I think the brand was Brotech, Brote, either CH or TEK, on Amazon, and they were, I think, $12 for 2. And it's just like putting a screen protector on your phone. It's just a piece of clear film or whatever that material is, and you just stick it on the display area. If you're worried about dropping it and scratching it, and
I've heard about those. I haven't. I tend to kind of baby mine, so when it leaves the house, it's in a pack and all that. But it's not a bad idea, that's for sure.
And you can, by the way, I forgot to say, unlike the THD74, where the speech is just one speed, you can speed it up. So if I go to menu 918,
speed 1, speed 2, speed 4, 918, voice guidance speed.
Now, I listen to my screen reader really fast on the computer and on my phone. So yes, you can speed it up some. That was level 4 out of 4. I already want it to go even quicker than that.
Yeah, I think 10 would be nice.
Yeah, I want it to go as fast as possible, but that's just me. But you can speed it up and have it go a little quicker. Just to hear what the radio sounds like, just to hear what the speaker sounds like in the 75. Now, I don't have the 74 to compare here, but if people want to hear what it sounds like, this is just some FM squelch noise. Whoops. Sorry, wrong button. This is some FM squelch noise. It's kind of full. It's got some body to it. I'll just connect to blind hams through my All-Star node.
NYI connected 3RWJ.
So that's what it sounds like if people wanted a sample.
Yeah, I was happy about that because I didn't have the 74, but I heard from everybody who had them that the speaker was kind of a little on the tinnier side. So when I took this thing out of the box and got it set up and especially connected to something with speaking going on, it's like, oh, this sounds pretty good. So it's got a very nice speaker in it.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm enjoying D-Star a little bit more with it too, because it doesn't sound quite as bad as I remember.
John, WB9BCH, go ahead.
Hello, guys. Whiskey Delta 9, Bravo Charlie Hotel. As a new user, and I never had a Kenwood 74, I'd like to share some thoughts. Join, that's up to you. I don't want to...
No, go ahead.
Okay. Got it about it 5 weeks ago tomorrow. And I got it on D-Star last Saturday, and my experience for the radio was incredible. And the reason I say that, I had an Ocean or Wuxen radio, however you want to pronounce it, 12 years old. You could turn it on. It actually would tell you the channel you're on, which is great, but forget everything else. And if I wanted to go with, if I need to set up a PL tone, all right, I know that was number 16, but call me a leaker or call me a loser. I can't memorize all those PL tone frequencies. So, of course, with the Kenwood, you can scroll through it, and it worked great. I said, wow. It's like I got my sight reached. It's really an incredible experience. The memory channels work great. Before I unmute, I am going to ask one question. And I got D-Star going, and as Steve, W1RTB knows, I had an issue with any of the DCS or XLX reflectors. And I had a friend of mine remote in from North Carolina, but we use TeamViewer because I'm on a Mac and he's on Windows. So we looked at, I had the screen open for the Open Spot 4, and any one of those reflectors, DCS or XLX, I had in my memos, I put D75, okay? Figure it might be a pretty good clue.
It's on the My Call field.
Right. It's under channel or 610. 610,
It's where you put your call sign in.
Yeah, well, I also put in the memo field some, 3-carrier D75. And when I transmitted, he saw a WD9BCH / D75. Now, I did not put that in the call sign field. I was very careful. I mean, I, set up, for D-Star pretty much last week, and I didn't realize that I shouldn't have to. I thought, but basically what was happening is the DCS and XLX, they were accepting the / D75 as a call, and of course was invalid. So my question, then I'm going to get out. I'll mute them. And instead of using the encoder knob or whatever, let's say if I wanted to go to channel 22, is there a way to get there through the keypad, or do I just scroll? Thanks, guys.
Oh, you mean just with the memories?
Right.
Oh yeah, you can do it with the keypad.
Yeah, you press enter and the memory number, 3-digit memory number that you want. So like 010 to go to 10.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's pretty easy.
Memory channel at 115 blank.
Well, I guess, Chris, I'm not talking about being in the channel list. I'm talking about being at the main screen.
What do you mean? Whoops. Okay, so...
4, 6.
Okay, so I'm in VFO. If I hit 2 for memories...
Yep.
Memory 0.
Okay, it's on 0, but I'm going to go
That's
enter.
Okay. Memory channel list 0.
Oh, okay.
0.2, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2.
Okay.
I went 012, and then I pressed enter again.
Again, okay, yeah. So enter's the first one.
I'm not even totally sure that you have to put that leading 0 in there, Chris.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I
we
think
can find out.
fills it in.
Memory channel 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 4, 6.43 FM.
Yep. So that was without a leading zero.
Okay, well, I'll mute. I just want to share what I thought, and it's
Yep.
the manual is great, Chris, and Robert's D-Star was wonderful last week. Well, the week before this recording. So back to you guys.
Glad you're enjoying it. The accessibility, the level of accessibility, I'd say the only thing we have that's comparable, that's as good, etc., is Joe Stevens' work on the accessible GD77 software.
Well, and Chris, that's a good point.
But then the radio isn't quite as, the radio itself isn't as good.
Okay,
but it's just as far as the speech goes, Kenwood are up to that level now.
But when you're on a Mac, you can't get updated files because it only as most stuff just supports Windows or not Mac.
Yep.
Right. And that's definitely the nice thing about the Kenwood radios is that you don't have to install something. That's what I said when I first opened up my comments on it, is that it was really nice just taking the thing out of the box and not having to plug it into anything. I didn't have to install any software. I didn't have to change anything. I just take it out of the box, hold down that pound key while pressing the power button for a few seconds, got speech, and there you go. I now had a radio that I could program myself. And in fact, most of the programming and stuff I do on the radio is from the front panel. I have the Kenwood software. I also like the fact that you don't need a special cable anymore, just a nice USB-C cable to plug it into a computer. Works nicely as well for programming. But I very seldomly need to refer to that. I do everything from the front panel, and it's great. That's a nice thing with this. You don't need the computer. It's all accessible, and it's user programmable, and it's an awesome experience. So we're gone a little over the hour here. So before we wrap things up here, I just want to take one more query and see if anybody here has any questions, especially somebody who is thinking about getting this radio. And was wondering, anything in particular, how it compares to the 74 or anything like that. So if anybody who wants to get this radio and isn't sure but wants to ask a question, this is your chance.
This is N2 AM.
Hey, Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, pardon the low audio, but I'm on a different microphone. It's a slightly different configuration here. But anyway, one comment. I have the 74. And one thing about that radio is the belt clip is kind of cheesy. I never liked the belt clip on the 74. What about the 75? I got them back ordered. I haven't seen it yet, but mine is back ordered, and it's probably sitting on a boat between Japan and the States right now. So I'm champing at the bit, waiting for the radio. So that's the deal here. Any comments on the belt clip, or if there is a different belt clip you can get that's a bit more beefy?
The belt clip that comes with the radio is the same one that came with the 74, as far as I can tell.
I believe parts have the commercial belt clip that you can get. There's another company that they've been talking about on the D75 list where you can get a commercial style belt clip. And just FYI, if you're waiting for a radio, there was on the D75 Facebook list today, another 500 radios dropped today.
Ah, that's good. Well, hopefully mine will drop within those 500.
The belt clip for the commercial Kenwood radios that fits the THD75, the screw holes are in the same spot, is the KBH10, Kilo Bravo Hotel -10. Now, it's still plastic, but the main part of it that moves, the long skinny part, is longer on the commercial version, the KBH10. So it attaches to the radio the same way, but it is longer.
Where do you get those, Chris?
I might have gotten it on Amazon. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember exactly.
Or Pacific Coast Parts.
Yep. Or anyone that sells Kenwood commercial stuff. Any radio shops that sell their commercial stuff.
You're very welcome, Dave.
Dave, do you have my guide for the radio?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay, just
very
making
well
sure.
Done.
No,
very
I'm just
well
making
done.
sure. I'm not fishing for compliments. Just making sure you had a copy.
This is
All right.
5ZSO.
Go ahead.
I have a question about the hot spots. I've not been able to get my 75 to connect to my hotspot, even though the light is coming on when there's a transmission from the other side. I heard something about frequency configurations is different. Is there a leading zero before the frequency, and how many zeros after the frequency for the hotspot?
I think I did. Steve was talking about that before, and I think I entered 43 990 or 90 or whatever. No luck.
Don't tell them whatever, because that's not going to help them.
You're right. What I did is I either added 10 before the frequency or 2. I can't remember. Try either or.
Well, I suspect, I haven't listened to it yet, but Robert's podcast would probably be a good place to start. It sounds like he's covered several different ways of doing this. So I would definitely give that a listen and see if maybe that, if you find your answer there.
He didn't talk about the specifics of putting the frequency into the hotspot list. And
you have to use a leading zero. You have to go 0, 4, 4, 3, and then it'll take you to the dot, 0, 7, 5, and then finish it off with the zeros at the end of that. So you have to start out with this leading zero, or your dot will not line up correctly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've even tried it like that. I've tried the Kenwood software also. No joy yet. I'm working on it.
All right, and all I can say to that is thank God Kenwood didn't do that to the VFO.
And you have, sorry, I missed your name, the person who asked that question, you're registered with D-Star?
I am registered with D-Star, but I've not even jumped on that bandwagon yet. I'm just trying to get the thing to talk to my open spot 4 and get even Brandmaster. If I could hear Brandmaster, it'd be good. But I'm messing with it. I've had the thing for about a week. I've had the clear node for about a week, and I'm having information overload. I'm going from a D72 to the D75. So it's a big jump, and the clear node's a new animal also. N5 ZSO RAID. I'm in the background most days listening, but I rarely comment.
Yeah, I would say, it sounds like you've taken on quite a lot in a short amount of time. I would probably maybe get the analog stuff figured out first.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you can work your way up. And one nice thing about getting the analog set up is then you'll have access to the blind hams bridge, and you can get on there and ask questions.
Yeah, I'm on the clear node and All-Star. I'm on the blind hams every day listening to you guys talk. That's why I knew there was a leading zero. I heard the discussion the other day about that. Okay, I'll try some more.
All righty. All right, then. Well, I think we should probably go ahead and wrap this thing up. It's been a wonderful conversation, and I hope that everybody who attended, as well as those of you listening at home, will have found it informative, and hopefully we'll get more D75s on the air. 500 of them just dropped, so hopefully that means more people who have been waiting will get their hands on these things and have an awesome time. So once again, I want to thank everybody for attending and listening at home. Remember, the Blind Hams group, our website is www.blindhams.com. A lot of good information there on this and many other useful subjects. Remember the CQ Blind Hams YouTube channel. Subscribe and listen as much as you can and help us out there. And that'll be it. Until next month, we'll see you at the next Techzoom. 7-3 to all.
Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and visit www.blindhams.com.